meeting lawyers. People want to know what is the purpose of ILA. And we keep telling them that the purpose of ILA is the same. Judges, and we need the courts, and the lawyers are most in prison. We don't have a website. We can't teach. We have to surrender our license. If we teach, we to anybody. So now there was no industry body to say anything to the government. There is always a regulatory body, but there should be an industry body that fights for what is right and shares with the regulatory body of what's at stake and what needs to be
Hi,
done.
good
And what
afternoon.
needs to...
Hi.
Hello, Praval. Welcome. So that's why we started Indian Lawyers Association. So things are going well. We'll pick up speed as we go along. And 8 years have gone by. We have another 12 to go. But we'll get there. A tipping point is about to happen. Once the tipping point happens, it'll be a self-sustained growth. It'll happen on its own. People will hold hands and run the ILA together. Swati, you'll check with Tech Mahindra's office as to what's happening.
Yes, sir. I'll call them.
Rita, thank you for joining.
Very well, and really appreciate what you're doing. Very well, and really appreciate what you're doing. Could you expand a little more on the chapters that you were talking about? Be interesting for us to know.
Yes, so we want 400 chapters in the country. There's 4 running. Very little interference from ILA headquarters. We'll have board members, 16 of them, and we'll do events on their own. And they'll have general members and charter members. In spoke model, we will not dip into each other's kitty, so there'll be no issues. Total freedom to the chapters, do whatever you want. But the goal remains upliftment of our profession. The restrictions lawyers in the country deserve to make. So let's be honest. So we want people to make more money. The reason they don't make money is because the justice system is slow. So the client says, what am I paying you for? All you did is get a continuance today. So we need for the justice. Yeah, we have a little Bible, Somdatta. We'll send it to you on ILA. Let's take this moment to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Vij. Thank you for joining, sir. As busy as you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it's always a pleasure to connect with you, meet you. While we don't meet often, but I had the pleasure of meeting you recently. So, but we are working with you goes back many, many years. Your firm does a lot of good work for them in the US. So thank you for inviting me and having me over. My privilege to be here, but there was slight difficulty, sir. I think we could have had I think we could have planned it better and have a venue which is feasible enough to accommodate more people. So look forward to that also in the near future, sir. Yeah. Thank you.
We turned away 150 students, but part of being a lawyer is to go along with the flow and adjust. And I was like, oh my God, do they have room for 150 kids?
Sir, what we could have done is we could have visited their school. In fact, yesterday I was in and out for last 2-3 days, but I had some school also volunteer to say, you could use our audience.
Yeah. So Mr. Vij, people want to visit the temple and they want to visit the main god and the main pujari. So the people want to go to Tech Mahindra. So you put chairs outside on your garden yard, that's fine with us. I will do it.
Of infrastructure. I mean, that also kind of gets attached to my company's reputation. So we will like to do it in a more respectful way, sir, for sure.
Correct. Yeah. So my goal today is to make you regret joining us. Now, today is it, right?
Sir. Yes, sir.
So So tell us about your life from the day you were born till this morning.
So I was born very recently, sir, just a couple of decades earlier. Coming back specifically, I've been born. I was born in Delhi, so I'm a Delhiite. Of course, my parents came from different part of the world. My father came from undivided Pakistan, uh, and my house because they were all practicing lawyers. So I have, at least with my grandfather, I still have some faint memories of lawyers sitting in a chamber that was created at my house. Also visiting maybe as Tisazari and the Delhi High Court. So that probably must have also kind of triggered the fact that law. Why not take law as a profession? But my journey has been slightly different in the sense that your class 10 exams, the tendency of your family is to see you as a doctor or an engineer, and probably in those times these were the only two things you could actually do, and at the max maybe a chartered accountant and so on. So you would actually stop somewhere there. And somehow I was a merit holder amongst the top 10 positions in the country. And so SRCC was a college to go to by default for commerce students. And there's where I started my journey with the Delhi University. So SRCC coincidentally completes its 100, enters into its 100 years. And I did put up a social post on the fact that I feel privileged. Uh, the college that I went to is now completing its 100 year. And it's a very prestigious college when it comes to, course. What do you do next? Because the expectation generally from a pass out from SRCC will be CA by default. And therefore, I took up CA. And I'm bringing this up because I think a lot of boys and girls also go through this. Maybe in those good times it was non-medical, and maybe at the max commerce, CA, etc. But now it's even more tougher. So important that I bring this up. And therefore, I said, let me try CA. I think I was doing reasonably well. I did my intermediate, did my articleship with a when it came to a little more, seemed like it's my mind was not coordinating well. Maybe the lawyer and the company secretaryship also, sir, actually has a lot of angle of company law. So you, while there will be board meetings, AGM, etc., um, but largely it is taking you towards the legal side, and that's where I think got admission. And at those years I think they used to award scholarship to people to go on a exchange program, Commonwealth exchange program, probably they called it, only amongst the top 10 or 20 odd people who would qualify. But anyways, and be honest, I could not make it to the top three. I joined a senior lawyer. I did not join my father. I mean, his primary practice was the Tisazari district courts. Maybe thought, uh, let me see this. I knew trial court is very important, but somehow landed at the High Court. Worked with some very great seniors.
We can hear you.
No, no, sir, there is a problem. Legal departments in the companies were largely post offices. You would carry a file to the law firm office, and and so on and so forth. But I think the world started changing around that time when I talked about 95. My CS qualification also was adding some weightage, probably. See that as a good career option. I think I see in-house will be a growing field, and that's where I take the plunge. And thankfully, there has been no looking back, sir. And to conclude, uh, worked with very great organizations and three very, very eminent figures, I call them, in the industry. I've been able to work uh, not very closely or directly, but have been able to see them, meet them, take their guidance, etc. The first gentleman being Mr. Ratan Tata, Tata's days, Mr. Shivnadar HCL, and again the great Mr. Anand Mahindra at the Mahindra Tech. So It's been an
So
amazing
before
journey.
before we talk about 8 years at TCS and 11 at HCL and now 7 at Tech Mahindra, for law school, wanted to ask you a question about law school. What advice we have lots of, this thing is playing live on YouTube and Facebook. We have a lot of students who've joined. What advice to law students?
So I do this. I mean, I've not put it up as a part of my profile, but just thought I'll take a minute. I do a lot of. I do visit law colleges extensively. Uh, I'm even doing guest lectures, guest series, and in some places, including the IIM, where it's going to be a couple of years. Be ready for a piece of it. There are huge concepts about work-life balance, etc., etc. We all respect all of that, but I think those are not something that a legal professional should. That should not be your priority. Their inclination towards learning, towards first getting the theoretical knowledge, and then how you take the right internships, do your work hard, improve upon your you know your terms, your English terms, your legal terms. All of that will come in, and results can be amazing globally and of course in-house as well.
So when you hire, so the next two questions are in-house lawyers you hire and outside lawyers you fresher lawyer at your office, internal work. You run a big law firm, right? You have 100+ lawyers in how many countries? 80?
Yes, yes, sir. So
So
you rightly, yeah, rightly, sir. Exactly. Thank you for
what do you
calling it
look
along.
for? What do you
So, sir,
look
I
for? Give
think
us a couple of your interview questions.
yes, sir. I get this often when I visit the law colleges also, whether for internship offerings or for hirings, etc. But the point that we always try to make is I generally see 0 to 3 years. I would try to kind of bucketize at one place, and then maybe 3 years plus, 7 years plus, etc. So I think the norms will be slightly different. The expectations will be different. But I think very honestly, the attitude is most important when we go to people in campus hirings or when we are looking at a 1 year, 2 year. Positive approach, that passion. Me and some of my people are growing old, so you need to put us on our toes. The expectations, young people that come in, as I stated, 0 to 2 to 3 years, positivity, attitude, of course, knowledge. Uh, just because he's not an NLU or it's always that individual. My travels, my other commitments sometimes take a lot of toll. But yes, my question, honestly, is not so much on the subject. I'm more concerned about what do you do in your over the weekends? How do you spend time with the family? How much of what are the newspaper? How do you keep yourself updated on current affairs? Maybe ask them current. Do you keep yourself updated on current affairs? Maybe ask them current affairs subjects, topics. You get a fair estimation about that person or the personality. If he really has a legal bent of mind. Some lot of times when if he really has a legal bent of mind. Some lot of times when we do to go to campuses, honestly, our group discussion or those are not on legal subjects. Girls to talk about something from a legal standpoint. What was an inference? Economic times. And I also think accountant, etc., may not be so financially wise, or may not have know all those tricks, but you should know these tricks as well. So why should the accountants only make money? The lawyers also have full right to make money. So you should watch the economic times, see what's going up, the new things that are happening, what a new treaty will bring change to a country. So I think those are related questions, sir. And so therefore
Yeah,
these are relevant.
I tell all my thing in taxes is like oxygen. It's understood that you understand it. 90% of what we fight over in law is about money. So let's talk about
Sorry.
outside general counsels.
So
What do
you
you
said
look for
something.
when you
There was
retain?
your
Yeah.
last lines went away. Sorry, I missed this piece. Any specific questions before the external counsel? You said something.
No,
Technologically enabled commercial lawyer. Unless you are meeting to this phrase so as you will not succeed in current world and maybe the times to come. So if you're not technologically enabled, you don't know revenue, top line, bottom line. Gone are the days that you will be able to argue or fight a court in fight a case in the court. So just to kind of add to what you also said, sir. So that was first piece. Second piece on external law. Yeah, sorry.
What do you look for?
I think the criteria will slightly change when it comes to external law firms. You probably have to test them on other criteria as well. As you rightly said, sir, we work with law firms across the world. Of course, the emphasis is US, Europe, UK, US, etc. But then that's not so relevant. Of course, that will also be determined by the fact what is the quantum involved, what is the nature of the matter, etc. So that's my first at times. So if you had law firm A, where I found gentleman gentleman X doing very well, you go after the credibility of a lot of times you go after the credibility of the partners. So surely that's the second piece that we look at. Commercial is important, but I'm still holding it on that because though it's very relevant, very important. But what is also important, maybe a law firm, again, say example, a law firm X, who has 10 service practices, practicing in 10 practice areas, but may not be great on some service practice areas. And if my requirement falls within one of those buckets, so then I which I'm sure they will laugh at how the billing was done, especially law firms outside of India. But now the Indian law firms have also learned the same trick. Even an email from a partner to his associate to look at a matter. What happens, and I'm sure a lot of us look at is, can you give me an interim solution, or at least an interim or some? Beneath, you don't have a great case. You probably will be better off settling in the range of, say, X to Y. That is something that I want to see in partner. I think those are 4, 5, 6 things that I kind of look at when impaneling a law firm, sir.
So, Mr. Vij, we want to take advantage of the fact that you've been a general counsel for 26 years now.
Vineet, maybe we will not be, they may not suggest who'll be good at it, but maybe we will not be, they may not suggest who'll be good at it, but they may say, we may not be the best choice on this matter. I think greatest one will be, may not be the best choice on this matter. I think greatest one will be who's upfront and transparent with me. 2, I think I also really value partnership, relationship with law firms, lawyers on the same transparency, footing, who will come back to say, Vineet, so they've taken a matter or they've taken a mandate, but they've taken a mandate, but they will come back to say, Vineet, we've looked at all the pieces. You don't come back to say, Vineet, we've looked at all the pieces. You don't have a great case, or your expenses on the legal fee will surpass multiple times the stakes, the claim in the litigation. So those are a couple of things that I think just stand out. And of course, the third thing that I also look at, sir, and I see that to you also, sir. If I have a work to do with, say, for example, Chugh Law Firm, I typically think the starting point is the managing partner, and you think you won half the battle. So I think that intervention, that involvement of us, of the managing partners.
And if you send an email to an outside counsel, what is your expectation? The response must be that day or 24 hours?
You're never closed. And for the benefit of all of you here, it's a problem to send an email to Mr. Chugh, because the problem is you've sent an email, you've gone to sleep, but this man is not sleeping. He's going to respond back to you at that. When I've seen law firms now very sensitive when it comes to responsiveness, time responsiveness. And for me, actually, if you ask me, not more than 12 hours, not even 24 hours. I'll tell you why, because typically what will happen of it, India probably is slightly different when it comes to the legal system, etc., etc. So the strategy is part of listed companies, sir. You also have sometimes regulatory requirements in terms of notifying SEBI and other LODR and maybe other norms that we also carry. So I think you have to be also mindful or sensitive of that as well. But to answer your question, the strategy generally will be, if it's a regulatory piece, if it's a question of principle, if it is a question of law, and therefore, my view would be not to settle, fight it out. Because it's an issue of principle. It could be less money, more expenses gone out, that's okay. Ethics, principles, etc. come first for us. But when it comes to commercial, I would say commercial disputes, etc., etc., there is where we weigh our options. We look at what the claim amount is and what a settlement range could be, and also compare it with the cost and expenses, and not cost and expenses only on the legal fee. Look at it holistically and then take that call. And of course, lastly, we will never compromise on our company, being able to pay some fine and get out and maybe be blamed or be named as corporation side. I think that principle, to my mind, is the principle that all of the GCs and the senior counsels will apply.
The lawyers situation in India. Lawyers cannot advertise, cannot have a booth, cannot access fee lawyering allowed legally, although I think half of the lawyers in the country are doing it on a daily basis, and the judges know it too. But there was no industry body fighting all these rules. So that's why we started Indian Lawyers Association 8 years ago. I feel like if you make a list of the 100 people that got us independence, Jinnah, Nehru, Gandhi, Sardar Patel, all of that included, 75 were lawyers. And in 47, we freed up the 350 million people, got them out of prison. But the lawyers at that time, 200,000 of them, decided to stay behind jail and put a lock and threw the key away. So everybody is free in this country except for us lawyers. And if you look at developed world, a good chunk of the heads of state were lawyers. US, for instance, 25 of the 47 presidents were lawyers. And I feel if India wants to become a first world nation by 2047, the next revolution must come from law and lawyers. We got political freedom in 47, economic freedom in 91. Next, it's the lawyers' turn. And we can do a lot because lawyers can move a little bit of a lever and 40 kilometers of wave can happen. But if the lawyers are in prison, then we can't do much. So we have 60 million pending cases. Half of them, the government of India is plaintiff or defendant. A quarter of them are criminal. So if you were made law minister for 1 year and you could only do 3 things, what would you do?
So firstly, I don't know. I'm not sure if government of India will want to risk if they were to evaluate me on some criteria, I don't know if I would ever satisfy any of the criteria, sir, to be very honest to you. But one another issue that also pointed out, probably not so relevant, but it is important, sir, also is the standing or the status of the in-house lawyers, sir. I mean, we still have not got a recognition, if you ask me. I'm not saying that recognition is given all over the world, but there is some form of recognition, some privileges attached, and so on. We did see something happening on that count, but that's again gone in the cold storage. So that is also another issue. So one is the set of lawyers, set of advocates who appear in the court, who are facing what you mentioned, the constraints that they need to work under as in-house. And there's huge numbers now, as you rightly said, we are almost 100 plus. So you will see 2x, 3x of our size also in companies. There are thousands also in some companies. So that that's another place where you're seeing lawyers community sitting and not getting that recognition or not being deprived of some of its rights, etc., etc. So I will speak for all. So if I were to be kind of look at a law minister, who's going to risk that? But anyways, if somebody was to do that, sir, I think you mentioned this problem about huge number of cases pending all over, not just at the district courts but at the high court and the supreme court. So I think that is something that I will have to focus on. First thing, how do we expedite? I don't know. I have no answer to it, but probably the think tank, the committee that we'll put into place. Hopefully, there are many committees. I know. I'm also part of some of the CIA and SOCHAM committees. But something is sure. Uh, you know, uh, um, that is something which is going to be a focus area. How do we do it? As I said, no rocket science, no instant answers. If you ask me, so that's one piece. Second piece, to my mind, comes from a digitization and case management reforms perspective. I think there's a great work which has happened. Especially COVID saw a lot of things getting expedited, not just on the law, court, and other side. It actually enabled everything. Probably all that was to happen in 10 years duration got done in 6 months, 1 year. We saw the vaccine getting rolled out, and I'm not going to talk on the other side of the vaccine efficacy and the efficiency, etc. But we saw a vaccine coming out in about a year's time. Never ever that we seen it. I think the research that went in, and now that you have the chat GPT, sir, I wish you allow me to open the chat GPT and ask this question. I will get a better answer in not just more than a minute's time. So I think that's the strength of automation. Therefore, I think digitization and case management reforms is very important. So coupled with the fact that how do we address the long cases, the piled up cases, how do we bring about digitization and reforms? I think that's something that we are looking at. Also, probably, we also need to look at, and I'm saying this more from an India perspective. Uh, Maybe I'll add a fourth as well. I think we need to create laws which align to, and I'm not here to criticize the law. I'm not even, maybe as a law minister I could, but not as Vineet Vij in the current position that I hold. But I think we need to enable laws which enable business ultimately, sir. So sometimes we see Supreme Court, high courts, etc., giving decisions which just reverse the whole piece. It just kills the momentum, the positivity that's got created, sir. So I think that is another third piece that, to my mind, needs a focus. And at the same time, I think we are also a poor country. While we see a lot of prosperity, which has hit us in the big towns, in the big cities of Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, tier two, tier three have been doing well, but there's a huge number of people who live in remote areas, sir. How is the law reaching them? How are they being able to get the justice? I don't know, honestly. In fact, in one of my recent uh, conferences, I got to meet a law firm, and they were actually awarded, they got some recognition award. They don't work in tier one, tier two cities, sir. So they've created a network in tier three or maybe villages with individual lawyers, law firms. And they said they have almost about 20,000 lawyers, law firms kind of in the network. I think other than one, of course, there will be a commercial angle to this for sure. But I think there is a bigger message, bigger angle also in terms of getting justice to the society, to the people at large. So I think that should also be a focus area. So these are a couple of thoughts. I can give you some better answers also if you allow me to consult ChatGPT or something, but without doing that. But I always also feel human intelligence is no less than artificial intelligence. So I hope I answered the question to the satisfaction of the great boys and girls and others who just kind of
So, Mr. Vij, what do you say? What do you say to people that blame general counsels for not fixing the mess of India? And the complaint against general counsels, it's not a complaint, but is that they could do more, is that You general counsels are only the only lawyers in the country that have power that anybody listens to. And if you could start ordering the lawyers you work with in-house and outside, that I don't want a 25-page pleading or a 50-page pleading or a 17-page pleading. If you write a 20-page pleading, my limit is 10. If you write a 20-page pleading, I'm going to cut your bill in half. There is nothing you can write in 40 pages that you cannot write in 20 or 10. And now with ChatGPTs of the world, maybe even 5. And general counsel should not encourage litigation, should discourage frivolous litigation, and order your external counsel to settle cases by this and this time. And if you don't settle, I'm going to move law firms. That general counsels have the power to change the legal system of India. What do you say to that?
No, sir, I am with you. I'm exactly with you. When I started the conversation, the first thing that I mentioned was I tried to break pre-90, pre-95 era, or maybe pre-2000 era and post-2000. I think the role of general counsels actually has gone a dramatic change. And you know for sure, sir, you've seen India, you've seen US, you've seen all the jurisdictions, and you know for sure, not just in the Indian context, but in globally also it has changed. Of course, that may have happened earlier in the other parts of the world. Having said that, in the Indian context, I always generally use 2000 as the dividing point, and therefore GCs who've taken roles or in-house also who've taken in-house and general senior counsels and general counsels today play a dominant role. They're not just the postman or the somebody who's entrusting a case file to XYZ law firm. We actually sit with them to understand, evaluate the case. We are business leaders in the sense that we decide at the board along with important people, etc., etc. We go into this decision making of do we do this business or not? Do we do this business? Do we go to this jurisdiction or do we not go to this jurisdiction? So when we are taking those crucial calls, we are in the position, and we sit on the boards also, sir. I mean, you know that we are ethics officers, we are compliance officers, we are. There is a whistleblower mechanism. We play a role there also under the data protection regimes. We are again we got another few roles to play. So we are very important people, and we can influence, as you rightly said. I have not seen generally law firms not adhering to or going by what we tell them actually. So I think we have the say. It's how much of that say we put across and exercise. You made a valid point, but sir, sometimes what happens is while the general approach always is at least two things. So firstly, I don't think frivolous litigation is something that any general counsel will want to go to. I don't think that ever happens or that will happen. Nobody will say, just file a litigation for the heck of it or create paper, or create wrong evidence. That I think 99.9%, that's not what is happening. Second, I think the general counsels generally and the senior counsels are very upfront and, upfront with the external counsels when it comes to how you conduct the cases. And you know that for sure. So we do a lot of evaluation in terms of, the stakes, the principle involved, and therefore we give very clear-cut instructions sometimes which are probably going to cause us a commercial loss also in the short run. But we take those calls. And I think generally the company's leadership will generally support us also at the back end. So I think that's the second thing, as you said, we are doing, and we are taking that move. Also, it's not just about, sir, settlements. We use mechanisms like mediation, ad hoc arbitration, etc., to see if there is a resolution possible. We are taking calls during the course of the proceedings, changing strategies, deciding to say, okay, let's call a quit. It's not working for us, etc., etc. So I think we are driving those decisions. We are very clear with the law firms. We are doing our bit. But I think that bit has to be done by everybody, including the law firms that we engage with. They need to also kind of They have their own code of conduct, etc., which I'm sure they follow, and they do actually. But I think it's a sum total of work that everybody will have to do together. But the general counsels are calling the shots, sir. I can tell you, be it in terms of appointment of lawyers, law firms, to how they will conduct, to how you can, change the gear, how you kind of settle and move out. So all of that is actually being done, and I think some more recognition. This is not the platform to say that, but I think some more regulatory legal recognition for in-house will also go a long way, sir. I think we missed that boat when we had the Advocates Act amended and we had a legal representative thing concept come up, but of course that's gone in the background at this point in time. Sir.
A CEO of a Fortune 500 company wrote an article on Harvard Business Review about 20 years ago. It was the last page of Harvard Business Review. And the CEO said, "This is how I handle litigation. I call up the managing partner of the outside law firm I'm dealing with, and I tell him this is the matter that's happening. Give me your best lawyer." And then I get the best lawyer. And then I say to the managing partner, "I need another lawyer." And the managing partner says, "For what?" He says, "For the same case, but I need another lawyer." And the managing partner says, "You're going to pay for two lawyers?" And the CEO says, "Yes." So the second lawyer shows up, and the CEO tells the second lawyer, "I've given this matter to John, and John's going to handle the litigation, and he's very good, so let him do whatever he's doing. And Jane, the second lawyer, I want you to settle this case, and don't talk to John."
Absolutely.
So I tell this story often.
Yeah, but these are very relevant. I think you have to run these tracks. If you ask me, these tracks have to run parallelly, and there is no clear-cut timeline when you will probably exercise or go with the other one. But I think as smart lawyers, in-house or externally, you have to reevaluate positions on a daily basis, if you ask me. Because sometimes you see an evidence which kind of destroys your case, destroys your claim, for example. There's no point going forward. I think as GC and as the power of a GC, if you have that power, just settle and move on, or just withdraw and move on. So I think those are calls that have to be taken, and therefore these are two parallel tracks which have to go on, sir. So that's my personal view as well, sir.
One last question. We told you we'll end at 5, so you have directors waiting for you, and you're busy. Thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate this. You're one of the most accomplished general counsels and lawyers in the country, so we're grateful. So one last question. ChatGPT. Are your lawyers allowed to use? What is your recommendation? And Tech Mahindra is probably helping some ChatGPT company set up software. And what's your stance right now? Are your outside lawyers allowed to use it?
So I'll very honestly, I will speak more of my personal view on this. I will not talk from a company standpoint. So my personal view is what I will share at the most, because there's so much happening, especially on the AI side, Gen AI side, and yes, we've given leverage. I'm okay personally with law firms using tool to their advantage. Of course, there are some norms. Everybody has their ethics and AI policies. So within the framework, I personally am fine. I think it's a great tool. There are great tools available. We should take that advantage. But of course, there are concerns, sir. We all know the copyright and the privacy and other issues. So I will, again, as I said, we may not talk on the company position and what the company is doing and how much of licenses that we've taken of AI products, etc., etc. But for me personally, smart use. We've all used books, and especially the boys and girls here. Books was always to our aid. Here are some assistants available to us when we've not even started law, we've not even got a job, we've not joined a firm company. We have a tool to assist. So I think we should take advantage of that tool. I'll stop here. How much? What is the ethics and privacy and those other angles are to it? We'll leave it for the next discussion. But personally, I think I'm in for some fair use of yeah.
Do you have time for a couple of questions?
Yeah, we can take it, but just quick,
Okay.
sir. I saw somebody put a question, sir.
Yeah, Somdatta.
Thanks, Navneet. Mr. Vij, pleasure meeting with you. I work with Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, you would have heard. It's a law firm based in Delhi. I work with the IP department and I'm a counsel out there. So I just was very, curious to know, rather eager to know about what kind of emphasis you place on IP and any particular strategy that you have adopted for your IP portfolio management, given your industries into providing digital solutions, etc. I think IP is very critical to business. Yeah.
So, Somdatta, you mentioned you're part of the IP team?
Yes, I am.
So I understand. Now I understand. You're seeing a business potential also to see how much of trademark, copyright, patent, design, etc. Prosecution do we do